trust is the key to the universe. And that trust is like this divine, absolute inner knowing. And as you begin to trust through this process, there are levels to it. And trust is unconditional. You know, the moment we put conditions on trust, it's a part of that false self coming through and putting a label on it and stopping it where it's becoming a linear factor. When trust is not a linear thing, it's an never-ending thing. It's no beginning or end for trust. So the more you graduate through, you know, the channel of trust, the more stuff comes through for you to be able to hold. You're creating more space, and you're being gifted with more abilities and more of this process for yourself to hold the superhuman nature of what we're designed to be. And trust has been such a huge theme for me the last few years, because as I would graduate through trust, I would receive more as I stopped having the mind come into like the disturbance of how I'm receiving information. I can give an example is like, I really just wanted my mind to be at peace. That's why I started meditation. And as I realized when I started to meditate, the thoughts would just dissipate quicker. You know, there would be more clarity. And in that space of clarity, that's when information would come through like this knowing of myself. Like there's something in there that came through and I knew it. And it kept reoccurring through this process of trust, and I gained a relationship with it. And so an example I'm trying to say is I kept meditating every day. I mean, I still meditate because it brings peace to me, and I get to have more information come through. So one time I was meditating, and me and Haley were trying to look for a place to live. And I had this direct message after I had this clarity and meditation: you're going to move in December. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I'm very skeptical as a person in general too. You know what I mean? I don't believe everything I hear or see either. You know, I also eat the meat and spit out the bones. I tell this to Haley all the time. But it resonated deep within my system. And so I was like, okay, let's wait. And this was about a few months prior. And so sure enough, we got this beautiful home that we have now, and it landed right on December 1st.
Wow.
And we got this house. You know, and this is just an example of stuff that can come through when you clear the mind and you clear all this trash that's always in your head. And I just really want to send a message to people to be careful with what you're feeding your mind also, because your mind is just replaying what you feed it. So that you're constantly on your phone. Your screen time is up 6 hours a day. Okay, you're feeding yourself all this this subliminal messaging through this programming of what we have. It's a program that's always running. And so how can you have a place of clarity when you're programming shit in your mind all the time? That's the whole point of this, to keep a distraction within humanity so we don't have these superhuman abilities and we feel like we're not in power within ourselves to take advantage of the superhuman self of who we're designed to be. Now, we can talk about more because that's a whole nother podcast as well of talking about the outside influences to keep people trapped and encaged. And when you're able to break free of that, that is the whole point of this human experience, to unleash this process of what's lying dormant within and getting past these conditionings and these programmings that have kept us entrapped, kept humanity entrapped for such a long time. And I really feel like it's time for everyone to awaken to that inner sense of the self, you know. But I think the more I began to trust, more bizarre things started to happen.
Right.
So as these more bizarre things started to happen, I would go to my teachers. They go, okay, I have this really strange incident that happened at a waking dream at 3 o'clock in the morning. And what is going on? And so one of my teachers explained to me, one, you have to realize there is realization and wisdom imbued inside of you. So you have to use that discernment like you were talking about before. But don't judge it. Take it for what it's worth. And so this beings would come to me in my, sleep, and they would start teaching me stuff and be quick within 3 minutes, done. Go back to sleep and be like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Okay. And it kept happening. It came to the point where extraterrestrials would do the same thing. So these extraterrestrial experiences became really bizarre. And so I thought I was going crazy until I went to my teacher again. I was like, hey, I got ETs making connections to me. Okay. And I don't know what's going on. Can you explain? And so she had told me that through her own, she's like, okay, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to tell you about my own experience. I had these two people coming to me all the time. And they were these two Men in Black type figures. And she was like, I didn't understand what it was. And so she had to make a relationship with him. First of all, she had to ask, hey, what are you doing here? And I need to get some sleep. I don't have time for this. So they'd go away. Mm-hmm. And so she started gaining a relationship with these teachers, essentially. And all they were doing is teaching her about her life. And as soon as she engaged and had that commanding presence and used discernment, then it became a teacher-student type relationship. And so I was like, okay, so what are you telling me? She's like, well, use your discernment. And if you want to continue with it, possibly being a teacher or possibly being an energy, talk to it and command that presence.
Yes. It's time for Crab Lives.